Join us as we delve into the fascinating history of Casa Mínima, a tiny yet captivating architectural gem. Satisfy your sweet tooth with some dulce de leche. Soak up the vibrant atmosphere of the San Telmo Market as you wander through antiques and eateries. Relax in the nearby cafes and take in some street tango. Visit the hauntingly beautiful Recoleta Cemetery with its varied and beautiful mausoleums, including one for Eva Peron, and discover the trendy vibes of Palermo SoHo. This video promises an unforgettable experience. Next stop was in San Telmo.
And we followed, didn't we? Followed, you thought it was a Plymouth Falcon? Or
Plymouth Falcon. And it was the thing about this car was it was an old 1970s car. It was aquamarine.
Beautiful colour.
Absolutely beautiful colour.
Yeah.
But our guide was saying that these were really popular amongst the ministries. And apparently it was because the boot was very large and would comfortably hold
three bodies.
Three bodies.
Oh, I thought you said four bodies.
No, three bodies in the boot.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to ask any more questions, you know. But he drove us round a couple of streets, didn't he,
yes.
in San Telmo, which were all cobblestones.
Yeah.
And the houses would look quite
original
interesting.
Cobblestones, I think he said, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. And then we stopped outside a shop.
Oh, yes. And it was a shop. And I bought some original, the Dulce de Leche. See that? Which is like, you know, toffee kind of sauce. But they had, this is an original one. I thought we've got to go for the best, the original. But they had every flavour, you know, lemon flavoured ones and orange flavoured ones.
And loads of testers.
Oh, and you could test each one. They had testers for every one. Oh my God, we had a lovely time in there. Yeah. So my friend Francesca and I, we bought the original. A bit worried about getting it home because we thought it was a tin, but it's actually cardboard. So I'm just hoping, I've got it in a plastic bag, hoping that I'll get it home in one piece.
And you actually... You paid about
we paid, it was 8,000 pesos for two of them, so 4,000 each, which is about £4, which I didn't think bad for the, you know, the real thing.
And you've looked it up, and they're, you know, they're phenomenally more expensive, aren't they?
To buy like the proper thing, like Argentinian, was a lot more. Yeah.
And after we'd sort of done with our tasting, he walked us round the corner.
Yeah.
And there was the narrowest house in Argentina. It's 2.5 Casa Mínima.
Minima.
It's basically 2.5 metre width house. In those days, it was quite standard for slaves to be given property
next door to the big house.
Yeah. And these narrow houses were built for the slaves.
Yeah.
This is the only surviving one of those houses in Argentina. And sweet. It has a green door. It looked really nice, you know.
Yes.
And there's a plaque opposite the house.
Yeah.
Which is about another slave who was a woman of colour who was a slave and who became a doctor. And there was another famous one that we had encountered, the woman that became a general, the slave that became a general. Yes.
Oh, but that lady's plaque, she became something in the army as well though, didn't she?
Did she?
Yeah. She wasn't a general, but something, a captain or something.
No, she was a general.
Yeah, one of them was, but the one that was opposite the house.
Yeah.
I'm confused now. She was something. She'd gone on into the army. Very powerful women that, you know.
Yeah, who'd come from a slave background, you know, and there was a plaque to them.
Yeah.
we looked. The street was nice. It was cobblestones. There was some graffiti type graphics on some of the houses.
You know how he likes that.
Yeah. And he gave us an interesting rendition of some of the history of the slaves and when actually Argentina abolished slavery, which was actually probably before America abolished slavery. When he was saying that though they went through a number of stages, the final stage being that the master could no longer own the children of the slaves.
Yes, because of course the master would sleep with the slave, and then of course she'd have babies, and that was a way of getting more slaves, so they stopped that, didn't they?
Yeah, it was a way of actually, because a lot of the industry was manual, so effectively they were creating a workforce to do their bidding.
Yeah.
But all of that stopped, and it stopped before the States abolished slavery. I can't remember which year he said it was, but absolutely fascinating, and then we went on our way. So as we make our way to Casa Mínima, it's probably worth saying that we went to San Telmo area on 2 occasions. Once on our journey with Maximilian, and then a second time where we came back and wanted to explore the area in more detail. So the San Telmo piece of this vlog actually includes both occasions.
But at least you could fit 3 bodies in the boot.
Yeah, and I can tell for that age the engine is pretty big because it's a 3.0, like 4-cylinder, but very big engine.
The Plymouth Falcon is also known in some regions as the Plymouth Valiant. So welcome to the Casa Mínima. It measures 2.5 meters wide and is believed to have been owned by a slave of the master who lived in the house next door, and the master gave Casa Mínima to the slave.
During the Revolution of May, she was a sergeant major of the army, but you got to consider she was a woman, she was a slave, and she was black, Afro-Descendian. So this is pretty
Amazing.
modern. So black, slave,
Yeah.
Afro, women.
She must have been a very strong woman.
And the Juana, the one with the sword, she was even more because she was general. She was also slave, Juana Azurduy, but she was a slave belonging to los nativos, the natives.
And round the corner was this shop which sold Dulce de Leche, a famous Argentinian sweet, and it had every single variety you could ever want, and it was all very reasonably priced actually. you've got to buy some, haven't you? I mean, there was no way that we were ever going to leave this shop without buying some, and we've got it home, and it was absolutely gorgeous, but it went reasonably quickly.
So we went to
The market in San Telmo.
Mercado de San Telmo.
And it wasn't open really that
No, they were
time.
getting ready to open. I don't know what time of the day it would have been.
No.
But I tell you what, the eating places in there, I was watching them getting rid of all getting ready with all the food and chopping all the meat up. And I'm not one for eating in markets and that when I'm abroad, but it looked really nice. It looked top quality. It was clean and everything.
And the other thing is there were loads of antique shops.
Lots of antique shops. Yes, I mean our friend was looking for a
fob watch.
Fob watch, yes. Yeah. So she might even go back and get it, I think.
No, it was lovely.
It was absolutely beautiful. So we sort of like walked through, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it wasn't too hot. It was sort of covered over, wasn't it?
Which was a nice thing.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because though the market hadn't opened, it was absolutely divine. You know, it wasn't busy.
That's because I don't think everything was fully open. I think it would get heaving probably.
Yeah, and apparently on a Sunday is when the market really flourishes, and you've got actually stalls out in the streets as well. But we won't be able to fit it in on Sunday because we're only actually in Argentina for one Sunday, and we've already got a plan for that day. Yeah. So
when we get off.
Yeah. So enjoy the market at San Telmo. When we came with Maximilian to San Telmo, it was fairly much a whirlwind journey. We basically just went to the San Telmo market and didn't actually come to this street market. Not sure if it was open as we went midweek, but when we came back, which was on a Saturday, it definitely was open. You do have to watch the prices and have at least an idea of how much you would pay in the UK, for example. Some of the items were reasonably good value for money, but other items were quite a bit more than you would expect to pay in the United Kingdom. There was a good set of antique shops and a number of other shops that also sold bric-a-brac. And we thoroughly enjoyed just actually taking in the market and looking around. What was particularly impressive was the food. There was a wide variety of different food stalls. The food product looked really nice, really fresh, delightful cuts of meat or whatever else they were selling. And the second time we came back, we actually stopped for a drink and just took in the local atmosphere and environment.
Very hot.
So the San Telmo market opened in 1897, and it was trying to cater for the needs of the immigrants that were coming and arriving from Europe. Since that time, obviously they've had an update to the stalls, but the original market structure, the metal columns, beams, are all original. And as you can see, it has everything from antiques, fresh fruit and spices, as well as bric-a-brac. So the street market is a couple of blocks up the hill from this market. Very easy to get to. So the street market is a completely different offering. It's catering much more for those people that are interested in arts and handmade items, and also wanting to chill out in the restaurants. And we found that there were also displays of street tango that were going on whilst you were actually eating in the restaurants, as you will see later. Our friends actually bought some mate mugs, and I don't think they're intending to use them for mate. I think the idea is to actually use them for tea. We're delighted to find this pair doing the tango in the street. We'd actually sat down at the restaurant and were enjoying something to eat and a drink when they obviously actually started. It was a very good display. There was another restaurant, and later on they also had a tango show. Now, for us, you don't come to Argentina without wanting to see some tango, but the issue we had was that the evening tango shows were very, very polished, also quite expensive, and required you to partake of the meal as well. This was a much better way for us of experiencing it. At the end of their act, they came round with a hat. If you wanted to make a contribution, you could, but you were under no pressure, which felt really nice. And it was an enjoyable something to watch whilst you were actually having something to eat. After the tango show, we decided to wander around San Telmo and soak up the atmosphere. There were some really nice buildings, some quite unique shops, a lot of cobblestone streets, and most importantly, at no time did we ever feel that we weren't safe. So San Telmo is the oldest neighbourhood in Buenos Aires. So back in the 17th century, it was the home of a lot of the growing number of industrial workers, so dock workers, brickmakers, etc. That created a very multicultural society. And you can see that mix in the buildings and the architectures as you wander around. The area is, in the main, considerably well preserved.
So the next day,
we decided
to do our own thing.
Yeah.
And we got a taxi, didn't we? It wasn't. It cost about £2.50. Was it?
It cost about £2.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Don't inflate the price. You know, it was about £2.
We went to the Recoleta Cemetery where Eva Peron is buried.
That was fascinating.
Oh my god, it was fascinating. Yeah, it was about £5 each to get in.
Yeah. There's just these massive
rows and
mausoleums
rows of,
and vaults.
Yeah.
And if you look at the map, it looks to me, I think it was originally built in a monk's garden. And if you look at the map, there's 3 or 4 distinctly different outline shapes amongst how the vaults and the mausoleums are structured. But gosh, I got lost in there, you know.
Yeah, I did a bit. I went to the loo. The loos are great, by the way, clean and lovely. And it kept saying all toilets this way, and I was following the arrows, and then it was further and further and further away, and I'd been gone ages. But anyway, I found it in the end, and I kept telling myself, right, so when I come out of the loo, if I turn left and I go along, then I've got to turn right and then turn left. But one of our friends, when I came out the loo, stood at the end of the way, and I thought, all right, I'm going the right way. Because it was like a maze. You could have got lost. Yeah.
I mean, there were a couple of thoroughfares, and there was a sort of central statue in the middle of the cemetery, but it was so easy to get lost.
And actually, it was we found it a little bit difficult to find Eva Peron's grave, didn't we? It was only that we saw a lot of people there, and we realised.
I went back there later, and there was not very many people there.
I think it probably depends because coach loads probably come, and so you have to kind of time it right.
We went really early in the morning, so we got there for when it opened. Yeah. Which is what our guide had advised us to do. Yeah. And it was not particularly packed. Yeah. But you basically go in. There's 2 entrances in. There's the one for the public. The one for the public, which we went in, where you pay your money, pick up a guide. In my case, in Italian. Don't know why. And then you swing a left to go to Eva Peron's grave, and it's the second from last row.
That's probably not going to help anybody.
No, it isn't. But
she's not buried under Peron, actually.
No,
she's buried under her family name Duarte, Duarte. But it does say on there Evita, doesn't it? Yeah. And there's a plaque.
And it is.
It's all black, actually.
Yeah, it's all black.
There were some red roses, wasn't there? Somebody put on.
Yeah, I think they were plastic, actually. But it's probably one of the more nondescript graves. Some of them are fascinating, ornate. Yeah. You've got ones that are in sort of.
Got stairs down, haven't they?
Yeah. Yeah. You've got ones which have got like light domes. You've got stained glass windows. You've got them in a Greek style. You've got them in Roman style.
It was amazing. Yeah. They were like little houses on their own, weren't they? Some of them.
Well, that was the whole point. They were supposed to be the houses for the dead. Yeah. All right. Yeah. And the size of the vault or the mausoleum actually indicated your value and worth. It was absolutely fascinating. And there were also some much smaller vaults off to one side as well.
And some of them were like very old and in need of some work done on them. We thought that it must be that they had come to the end of the family line and there wasn't anybody left in their family to maintain, the whatever.
But the area outside of the cemetery was quite nice.
It was lovely. There's some nice cafes and places to eat and stuff.
We actually stopped off at a cafe and they weren't open.
Yeah, they weren't open, but we must have looked like we were flagging a bit, and they said, just drink, and we said, yes. So we had a couple of Cokes and stuff.
And they looked so. They even bought
an industrial fan out for us. Yeah, everybody was really, really lovely actually in Argentina. Very, nice.
Very different to
how you think it's going to be. Yeah. Because you think they're not going to like us because being Brits, with the Falklands and everything. But no, not at all. They're absolutely lovely. Yeah. So that was I wanted to go to Eva Peron's grave.
And then after Eva Peron's grave, and after we did the Recoleta Cemetery area, we got a cab further down the over to the now what was the area that we went? It's the one that's slightly to the right of Recoleta, Palmea.
Yeah.
And that was really just to have a look around the streets, see how they differed.
It was so hot, to be honest.
We were flagging.
Yeah, you couldn't kind of aimlessly wander around really because it was so hot.
You mean like I normally do?
Yes, like he normally does. We had to have a plan because anyway, we went for lunch, didn't we?
Yeah. We had a nice lunch actually.
We did.
You know.
Yeah.
Don't think we recorded it, but we had a really nice lunch.
Yeah.
Albeit it seemed to come out in a completely different sequence to the way we ordered it.
Because you ordered, what did you order? The savoury?
We had those cheese and ham...
toasty things.
Yes.
And he ordered some ice cream, and the ice cream came out first.
Followed
by the cheese and ham toasty.
We're on holiday.
Whatever.
Yeah, we're on
He ate
holiday,
it
so we have a funny sequence to the way that we ate. But no, really nice.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it tremendously.
Yes.
And you know what?
What?
When we came out of that restaurant,
Yeah.
there were men dangling. Again.
Dangling, cleaning windows.
Yeah, I keep getting haunted by men dangling from buildings. Anyway, enjoy.
Yeah.
So we're doing this on our own, and we got to the cemetery by hiring a taxi, and we did that by just hailing one from outside the hotel. He picked us up, got us to the drop-off point, which is here, and it cost a total of £2. This tree was rather spectacular. You could walk around it, and it was all fenced in, but it was a massive tree. So we went in the cemetery, and you could pay by credit card. In fact, I think you could only pay by credit card. And that was done at a desk, and you picked up a guidebook. Unfortunately, they must have thought we were Italian because the guidebook that they originally gave us was in Italian. First tasks will be to find the grave of Eva Peron. But generally what we want to do is just take in the cemetery and understand a little bit about the culture of Argentina and how they treat the dead, which is obviously an important part of their culture and the beliefs. So one of the main sites that we'd come to see was the mausoleum of Eva Peron. It's actually her family mausoleum, and it's over the far side of the cemetery. We had hope, because of coming early, that the crowds would have abated, but they weren't too bad. Anyway, this is the mausoleum. Please enjoy. Visited the grave of Eva Peron, which was a very nice, very simple black marble grave. It was quite interesting. Obviously a lot of crowds there, and very difficult to film because of the crowds, but very nice, very, very touching. Now this place is an absolute maze. It is so easy to get lost in here, even with the map on the guidebook, because ultimately you go down one turn and it looks exactly the same as the next. Ultimately, I think every single member of our party got lost on some occasion while we were here. If you separated off, say to go to the convenience and made your way back, it was incredibly difficult. On the day that we came, the light was truly incredible. You got some real glimpses of sun breaking through over the top of the mausoleums, and it really added to the overall atmosphere. I believe that these were planned to be the homes for the dead in their new life. Hence the grandeur and splendour that you see here. Not all of the mausoleums were in good repair. Obviously, as families come and go, then the people to tend these mausoleums are no longer around. It is a scorcher of a day today. It's about 38 degrees C and mega hot. And of course, a lot of these tombstones are white and they reflect the heat like nothing on earth. Anyway, I think we're almost done, and the idea is probably to get something to drink and then continue our travels. So across the road from the cemetery was a small cafe, and we went over there inquiring about if it was open or when it would be open, because it was obviously closed at the time. And they immediately offered us to sit down, which was really nice of them, and then asked us what we wanted to eat and drink. And they even came across and put a fan in place, which was a lovely gesture. So we got another cab and we made our way to Palermo SoHo, which was in one of the guidebooks an up and coming and vibrant area, and it also had a street market as well as a number of shops. There was a particular restaurant, so we fancied having a look and seeing what that looked like. A place called The Hole, which was sort of let's say an Alcatraz vibe. We never actually found that though. So we stopped off for yet another drink. It was such a hot day, and a cold Diet Coke really cooled us down and quenched our thirst. Really nice. It was formed on a traditional box intersection of main roads with side roads in a very grid-like pattern, and we found a variety of interesting shops to look at. Finally we made it to the street market, similar to the San Telmo street market but considerably smaller, but very much the same sort of items, very much arts and crafts, some things that were very specific for the tourist trade, and a lot of jewellery.
tenés casa de cambio. Sí, Mercado Pago. Ah, sí.
Join us in our next vlog where we will be embarking the ship for Antarctica.